So if we remember, we've done all the little jobs on the board. I'm going to add another one there, another typical job that we end up doing, and that's remove and replace a car's tailgate. And the reason we want to show you this is a couple of little differences. Again, typically we've got bolts to undo, trims to remove. On this instance we've got a wiring harness to take out. Unlike the door, where there was a multi-block connector, on tailgates you tend to find that the wires don't join where the tailgate mounts, but instead they run through the tailgate to the actual component they're feeding. So this is one of the big differences. So I thought it'd be quite a nice idea to show you how we would tackle this little job. So I've got my equipment still laid out. I'm going to look at doing a remove and replace. I'll try and do this in a couple of easy shots rather than making it too long. So same drill. We're going to look and inspect and work out what we're going to need. Parcel shelves in the way, so that needs unhooking. The gas struts, these are the bits that stop your tailgate from just slamming shut on itself. You can see we've got two wiring harnesses going in. Typically one of those will be the rear washer jet for cleaning the rear windscreen, and the other one will be feeding the wires, and they generally, you'll find, like to run up inside this channel, this box section. So let's get stuck in. One thing I like to do, if you notice the interior lights on, draining the customer's battery. Got my nice little proddler. It should just tuck in there nicely, and you can see, just detach one of the cables, and that just saves the customer's battery. Sometimes you need to disconnect the battery, but not always. So in this instance, just disconnect the interior boot courtesy light. We'll carefully, gently unhook the parcel shelf. I'm not really a fan of leaving stuff on there, but sometimes it can be quite handy. So as to not make or leave a mess, I'm just going to put a little bit of paper down there just to cover it. Now again, let's inspect. Gently peel this rubber back. Yep, that's a flexible hose as I thought. So that will probably be the washer jet. That came out nice and easy. We've got a wire going that way and a thicker wire going up. Now that to me looks like an eye level brake light, and I can't really tell, but I think it probably is. It looks like it's tinted. Now, same drill, let's gently tease things off. We're not tearing things out and ripping them off here and there. And that came out quite nicely. And again, yeah, there's your eye level brake light. Let's unclip that nicely, and that's free. And whilst I'm in here, I can see the washer jet, so I'm going to gently see if that will tease off. Sharp edge there, so be mindful not to cut yourself. Nice, being a little bit troublesome. There we go. Again, we've always got the little hot air gun trick, or the lighter trick. Again, being careful not to set fire to anything or risk damaging. And that should really nice and easily feed out there. And again, another reason for the paper, if there's any residual moisture or water in there, you don't really want it dripping all over your customer's car. Wires running up here, so we've got an interior trim pad. So again, I can't see any screw holes. So I think this is going to be a steady, gentle levering off. Notice how I keep saying steady and gentle. And sometimes you'll find that they catch a little bit. The trim tool itself's too thick. This is why I like to use a little pick tool. I can sneak in behind there without damaging the trim, and that just gives me a little bit more access for that trim tool. And again, that's already undone, nice and gently. Whoop, working my way around. That came off quite easy. And if we look to have one or two of these clips have come loose, which isn't uncommon. Match them up. Yep, there's one still in there. There we go. To the left of that, Oh, there's actually no clip there. And same again, so there's 2 clips missing. I don't know if that's intentional or if somebody's been in before, but the important thing is they're not going to clash as we try to reattach anything. Okay, so the next job, let's have a look at this wiring harness, see where it runs. We can see these cables run all the way through here, so I shall start to unpick those. Just a little clip, pinch it together with your fingertips, your nails, and just make a mental note of where all of these actually go, because you're going to have to reattach them when you come to rebuild the tailgate if you were fitting a new one, or if you were taking the tailgate off and replacing it with the same one as we are doing today. It's nice to have an idea where things go. Now you guys, you've got the luxury of mobile phones, smartphones with good cameras, and we never had that. We just had to remember everything, so it wasn't unheard of if it was a new car you'd never worked on before, or it was particularly complicated, to just draw a little sketch. Or if I was replacing this tailgate, I'd often draw on the actual car, on the old panel, where the wires ran, and when I came to put the new tailgate in place, I had a little visual reminder, a little visual reference. Right, so that's about as far as we can go. I can feel in there, and we could maybe see in there, not very easily. That's plugged in behind the lock mechanism. Just again, one of my little quirks, I like to shut that and lock it, and if for any reason the tailgate shuts down, it won't catch and it won't lock, so you don't end up with the wiring or the mechanism disconnected, the tailgate closing, and you're not being able to get in there. Looking at that, I think we're a 10mm. Anti-clockwise, foot off. Extension again, so I'm not damaging the car or bashing my knuckles. Gently lift that out through the back, and there we can see quite easily how we disconnect that. And again, this little bit of protective covering, just keeping the customer's car nice and clean. We have an earth, a negative cable that's connected to the car body. We'll disconnect that whilst we're here. Again, making sure we don't slip and bash into that rear screen. And again, keeping that nice and safe. I'll just pop those down there. I'll grab this whilst I'm here. So far, we appear to have got pretty much everything disconnected, except for the little wire for the rear screen heater element. Typically they pinch together and unplug. And there's another one of those little clips there, and that's nice and easily done. Right, so before we feed this out, I just want to make sure we've got as little obstruction as possible. So the wire that was feeding the eye level brake light, I'm going to gently feed that out, and I say gently because, as you can see, it's quite easy for one of these plugs to catch and snag, and if you're pulling and tugging and riving, you could quite easily damage that. So I'll feed that through ever so gently, a little bit at a time. If we get a little bit of a resistance, just give it a waggle, for want of a better technical term, and that should make bringing the rest of this through easier. Now again, you could take the time and tape these together. I don't think we need to, but we'll find out. And the same again, I'm going to feed these with one hand and gently draw them through with the other. Now this is a job where it pays to be patient. And have quite good hand skills. So once we've got that running through, gently feed it a little bit at a time. See, those like to catch. And when you get a wire on its own like that, sometimes it's worthwhile just trying to draw that out. There's another one. And all the while I'm feeling and hoping, if I'm honest, that we don't get caught up on anything. There we are, brilliant. That went really well. I promise you, sometimes it just doesn't go your way and you can spend what feels like forever feeding the wire back in again, feeding it out, back in, back out, until you get that nice smooth run. I was really fortunate then, which is brilliant. So, my next job, that is everything disconnected from the tailgate except for the gas struts. So I'm going to slacken the retaining bolts. They look like 13s, which typically, as I've said before, the Japanese cars are a 12 or a 14, but I think, yep, there we are, they're a 13. Not sure why. And what I'll probably do, these feel the easiest to get hold of, so I'll remove, by hand I mean, they feel easy to get hold of by hand, so I'll remove the inner ones completely, we don't need them anymore. Again, that's a longer bolt than I was expecting. That took a while. You could use a ratchet for this if you've got clearance. Looks like we have. It might be a little bit tight. I guess through experience, tend to come in with a spanner, combination spanner, and hope that it's just finger tight. I'm going to take a few turns off of this. That's actually still quite loose. And at this point we don't really want to take these out much further, because these are going to be the bolts that catch the weight of the tailgate, if you like. Once we've detached, taken off, undone the gas struts. And again, for that, just this little proddler that I like. So we have, hopefully you can see this quite well, we have a recess either side. This clip sits around, and I tend to find if you just take the weight off with your hand, gently tease that under there, that should release enough. I like to clip that back on, and be careful that you don't bash, crash and chip any of the paint. That's that gas strut, and at this point I kind of need to be helping the tailgate out because the gas strut on its own is not strong enough. And again, let's just pop that down there out the way. Right now I'm the only thing stopping this tailgate from clattering to the floor. Now we should be quite fortunate, and this tailgate should, gravity's pushing it down onto the hinges. If I just use my arm like so to prop the tailgate open, obviously it's a Nissan Micra, it's not the heaviest thing out there, I can use gravity to keep the front edge of the tailgate central, so hopefully it shouldn't slip about and risk damaging the roof. Now we're back in the situation again where I'm on my own. There's lockdowns restricting people working together, so this can be done on your own. Obviously it'd be much nice if we had somebody at one side, somebody at the other, and you carefully lift the tailgate off together, and that way you reduce the chance of damaging the paintwork around it. Fortunately, a demo car, the paintwork on this thing's not the best, but that's not the point. We like to keep things as professional as we can, so I'm going to try and lift this clear. It actually feels like the paintwork stuck a little bit on this. There we are. That sounded horrific, but I promise you it wasn't. It's just a gentle cracking of the paint that's been there for a few years. I'll lower this down carefully. I'm going to use my tummy, the belt buckle if you like, to grab the bottom of the tailgate, and I'm going to carefully lift this back. And here we go again. We've got our nice little mats waiting for us, and keep that nice and safe. Okay, excellent. That really is quite a bit of bad corrosion on there, but that's for the painters to worry about. Again, if we've got some masking tape, this is a lot cheaper than having to paint customer's car because we've been a little bit careless or unlucky and just caught that paint when we come to put this tailgate back on again. I'd much rather waste a couple of pound on a roll of masking tape than a £600 repaint on the roof and blowing into the tops of the quarters. Right, hope that was useful.